Hi, this is Ron Janish, and in this video here we're going to take a look at and really reach an understanding as to why Andrews is superior technology. One of the things that Andrews allows you to do is to be what I call a selective trader, and we're going to show you the benefit of that. Now, I've done various historical tests, and this is software that we use in-house for testing and stuff like that. And what's important here is, let me put this aside for now, is what I call exposure. Notice here it says 28.18%. What that means to me is that this particular system was actually in the market about 28% of the time. Okay, now why is this important? Because this is one particular way of using Andrews. Okay, and so what I do is I will look for specific patterns that are useful to me. And what I mean by that is that the market is, the theory is that the market goes in a strong trend or something like that 20% of the time, and 80% of the time it goes sideways. So if you can identify what it's going to do next, you can act appropriately. If you're an options person who likes to have a bunch of straddles or strangles on, then a sideways market is something you're interested in. So otherwise, if you're a futures person who just likes a strong position, then strong trend markets might be something you're interested in. So what we did was we did some tests, and using one method, we found, well, we can get 28.8% coverage or exposure. Okay, tried a totally different technique, got 24.22%. Now, please ignore these things here that say annual return. I'll tell you why. Because you don't know what the leverage is. In this one here, I can tell you that there's no leverage used. In this one here, I can tell you there is. Okay? And typically when we try stuff out with leverage, it's not real high. But that's not what's important. The important part here is exposure. Okay, so we can see this here. And the other thing I'm looking at is this here. Well, which gives me about a 46% exposure. Okay, and so this is a system I'll look at combining with one of the other system. And this one here, of course, there's some kind of leverage going on. Let me take a look. It won't tell me. Can't open this up. Okay. So what we're out to do is to combine different times for reasons for being in the market, long, short, or whatever. And the idea being to maximize exposure with very powerful signals. That's the method that I like to focus on when it comes to profitability. And here's some of the interesting things that I've found as a result. In this particular one here, I combined two of the three that you saw there of exposure, and I get up to 72% exposure. Now, sure, I get this ridiculous number if I start adding leverage, right? And you also have 36% down draw, and that's pretty hefty. So you know, if you get these crazy numbers, then be prepared for significant down draw. So yeah, here's one we can look at that's a little bit more down to earth. Well, let's take a look at what the leverage was in this one here first. Let's take a look. Yeah, leverage was 40 to 1. Okay, not the crazy 200, but 40 to 1 is still pretty decent. Okay, now here's one where there's no leverage used, and this is a wonderful example. See here we're using 80% exposure. Okay, and that's really using a good amount. And so with no leverage, we're looking at this number here. And mind you, this is always looking at the same things, which are Forex. And so what happens is with an 80% exposure and a reasonable down draw, you get something like this here in terms of a chart, which is really pretty. Let's take a look on the stats, see how it did. And max down draw on this one here. Wait a minute, this is the 23%. Okay. All right, so the max down draw on this one here is 1.41, which is very reasonable. You know, if you can have a system that works for you, that has a reasonable down draw like that, that's something that's livable, very livable. So, you know, if you use Andrews or you use something else, I really encourage you to develop something that gives you the kind of exposure, meaning, you know, being in the market when you want to be in the market, and the kind of down draw that you'd like to see, because you've got to be comfortable with that, because it will happen. So anyway, that's the long and short of it. So I thank you for your time, and get a chance, take the Andrews course. We are still up and running with the Andrews course. I don't know for how much longer, but we still have it available.